Some of our women have been forced into doing things that they never thought could happen to them. Hagar knows what this feels like. Hagar was a foreign servant in Genesis. Our introduction to her is Sarah telling Abraham to sleep with her in order to have the family that God promised. Rather than waiting, Hagar is considered to be nothing more than a tool to be wielded because as a servant, even any children that she bore wouldn't be considered her own. They would be Sarah's. Hagar has no choice but to submit to this, and the Lord blesses her submission and she becomes pregnant. However, Hagar did not respond well. Knowing her mistress is barren and that she carried the master's son leads to resentment at having to submit to Sarah. It was open enough that Sarah retaliated by mistreating her, harshly enough for Hagar to risk fleeing into the desert. This should have been the end of the story and the end of Hagar, but instead the angel of the Lord shows up out of nowhere. Gently, kindly, he calls her by name and asks where she's coming from and where she's going. He knows her intimately. In response, she's honest with him. She has run away. The Lord knows it's not time for her to leave just yet and that she wasn't innocent during her staying or leaving. He tells her it's time to return to her mistress, but leaves her with a promise. This child that she bears will be a son that the Lord himself names Ishmael because he had heard her misery. Not only that, but the child will live to adulthood and even have so many offspring himself they will be too numerous to count. She is not alone in this mess. The Lord has seen her. So Hagar returns to Abraham and Sarah and indeed has a son who is named Ishmael. Years pass and Sarah finally becomes pregnant herself. No more is said of Hagar and Sarah's relationship, but when Isaac is weaned, Ishmael begins mocking his new brother, enough that Sarah demands that they be sent away. After reassurance by the Lord that they will survive, Abraham provides food and water and sends them back into the desert. I can't imagine what must have been going through Hagar's mind at this point. Is she going to live this time? Once in the desert, they use up all the water and Hagar is distraught. She cannot watch this child die. But the Lord once again intervenes, loving them where they're at and proving himself faithful to his promises. The child will indeed live and become a great nation, just like he promised. So the Lord provides a well in the desert, and Hagar and Ishmael are saved. The story is so amazing to me. Hagar, a servant girl who is not innocent with multiple offenses against her, was deemed worthy enough for an angel of the Lord to speak directly to her. He knew her, he saw her, he loved her, and he kept his promises to Hagar and to Abraham. Through his care of a broken and undeserving woman and her child, our God is shown to be faithful. This story proves to me that imperfection and sin do not cause him to love us less. After all, while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Like Hagar, some of the women we serve have been forced into situations that they didn't want to take part in. They've been considered nothing more than their circumstances, and they've been sent out into the deserts of life alone. But just like with Hagar, God is still faithful. He still knows their names. He still sees them for more than their circumstances, and he still loves them right where they're at. Will you help us serve today's Hagars?
You are known, you are seen, you are loved. This is 431 Ministries.